Okay, I've been wanting to make this video for a while now. I am a numbers guy at heart, and so this whole trip there's a lot of planning involved, and like I said, I'm a numbers guy, so it really interested me the finances of how I was gonna get this thing off the ground and how I was gonna maintain it for as long as I wanted to, and so I made a big spreadsheet before I started this trip, and I put together all my finances and I saw where I was at and I tried to estimate how long I could sustain this trip and how much money I could put towards getting it off the ground. And so I know, in fact, there's lots of people out there that have asked me about this trip and that are interested in doing something like this. And so the biggest piece of advice I would have is to try to do it responsibly and try to plan it out and have the money set aside in advance so that you're not having to put this on credit cards or finance it in any way. And so I worked my butt off to try to get the money in place to be able to finance this whole trip, and I have. But I wanted to take some time to kind of explain how I did that and show the dollar amounts for a lot of the things that I bought, and show how much I spend on a month-to-month basis. So I'm going to break this video. I'm going to break this into two videos. The first one, I'm going to dive into how much I spent before the trip, putting all of it together and in place to be able to launch in September. And then the second video will be kind of an overview of roughly how much I spend per month. So just to start, we'll go ahead and dive in to this, the part where how much I spent before I started this trip. So let me get to my spreadsheet. So this shows basically an overall, this is kind of like my main page of this sheet. And on the left side, it shows all the startup costs. And on the right side, it shows what I spend each month, or every 4 weeks is the way I broke it down. So in this video, I'm going to dive in to explain the costs of how much it got me, how much it took for me to start this trip. And I wanted to say before I get started that, I tried to be budget friendly, but I tried to spend my money where I thought I would get the most value for my dollar and not skimp in areas that I thought were really important, like the car and the fridge and the solar panels and the battery and the big ticket items. What I basically want to say is that you don't have to spend, I spent, a decent amount of money to get this thing going, but, you can honestly, if you have a van or a truck or something like that, you can convert it pretty easily and pretty cheaply and get started for much less than I did. So don't let, if you watch this video and you say, oh my goodness, look at how much he had to spend to get this thing going, please know that that's not, a fair representation of how much you may have to spend to do something like this. You could do this for much cheaper. But having said that, the Xterra is a 2011 Nissan Xterra Pro 4X. I've always wanted one, and this trip kind of gave me the reason to get one, because it is a really nice SUV for overland travel. Overall, I'm very happy with it. Knock on wood, it hasn't given me any trouble. The suspension can be a little bit challenging over rough pavement, so I'm going to do something in the near future to kind of beef up the rear suspension, but overall, very happy. The only thing I've had to do to it in 11,000 miles is do 2 oil changes so far, so it's been very cheap. I budgeted 1,300 or 13,000, spent a little bit more than that all in. It was 12,500, but then with taxes and registration and title and all that stuff, ended up costing me about 13,500. These rain guards right down here, I bought because I made a platform on the interior and to sleep on in case I was in a city or something, and I wanted to be able to crack the windows without rain getting in if it was raining. So I spent like 20 bucks on those. The rooftop tent was something I poured, time and energy into researching, and I'm very, very, very happy with the roof nest. I really wanted it to be a tent that was set on top and popped straight up, so that I can fit into a parking space and put it up and not have it kind of fold out to the side or behind me. And I have coverage when it rains if I cook in the back because the rear tailgate pops up. And so I have kind of a rain coverage back there. So I didn't need the tent to act as coverage for the rain. So overall, very, very happy with this roof nest. It's the Roof Nest Sparrow XL. I had budgeted originally 3,000 for it. Ended up costing me 3,300. It's very, very pricey, but I've slept in this thing probably 50 to 100 nights already, and should be able to get many, many, many more. And I'm still sleeping very comfortably up here after 4 or 5 months. Another area where I wanted to spend a decent amount of money was the cooler or the fridge. So I bought an electric fridge. It's the Dometic CFX 100. That's 100 cubic inches, I believe. And overall, I'm very happy with it. It's very big. So I probably didn't need to get that big of a cooler now that I've been on the road for a while. But I really wanted to have the room for, to be able to keep things cool if I needed to. So I went ahead and just spent a decent amount of money on that. I budgeted a little bit over what I spent, which was $1,150. But so far, knock on wood, everything's working great. I love it. So I'm happy that I spent the money for it. So originally, I only wanted to get one power bank. I bought the Jackery 500, spent $500 on that, and really happy with it. I love it, in fact. But I wanted something to be able to bring up here, and the Jackery 500 is pretty heavy. So I didn't want to have to keep lugging that up and down. So I went ahead and bought a second Jackery, but it's a smaller version. It's a Jackery 240. So it has about half the capacity of the 500, but it's perfect. So I bring it up at night, and I charge my electronics, and I watch. I've got a mini projector, so I watch movies and stuff on Netflix. And usually by the next day, if I start with that 100%, when I go to bed, it's only usually down to about 70%. So I'm really happy that I got the second one. That was my Christmas gift this past year, and it's working perfectly. Solar panels. So I originally budgeted 200, and the solar panel that I bought, it was a flex solar panel, and it was only $180. But once I got that second Jackery, I really wanted to be able to have two solar panels so that I could have one solar panel for each Jackery battery. And so I bought another solar panel for the top of the tent. They're both right up here. And then I had to buy the cables for those both. So you can see that I significantly overspent on the solar panel and the cables. That's basically because I bought two of each of those that I didn't expect to buy. There are some cables. There's a long cord that I need for the solar panel to reach the Jackeries, which are down here, and then also a converter like connecting cable to make sure that the long cable that I've got is compatible with these solar panels. So all in, that cost me, the cables, $180 when I'd only budgeted $50. Range top, I just bought just a usual Coleman propane gas tank camper stove, and that's been fine. It's been about $50 for that. The cooking utensils, I didn't know what I was gonna find, but I ended up getting like just a small camping set of camping utensils that was pretty cheap. I mean, it's cheaply made. It's nothing fancy, but it's fine. It's doing its job, and if they completely go bust, then I'll have to get some more. But I think those are going to last me for the entire trip. I got a meal tray, which is basically just for when I have the whole day to just kind of spend at a campsite like I am today, and I want to bring coffee or something to eat. I've just got a tray that I can keep up here to try to avoid spilling anything into the tent. So far, so good there. Coffee supplies. I'm a big coffee drinker, and so I've got to have good coffee. So I bought a manual grinder and just a large French press. Ended up costing me about $50 for those two. Showers. I've got two solar showers. They're just bags that you can put out in the sun and direct sun, and they heat up. I love them. They're great. I use them all the time. If I don't have time to actually heat them up with the sun, I go ahead and pour hot water into them and use it like that, and it's fine. I bought two just because I figured they were cheap and one of them would break, and knock on wood, both of them are still fine. But I spent about $75 on the solar showers, excuse me. The water canisters, I went cheap, and I bought some cheap plastic 5-gallon water jugs, and they both cracked within the first couple of months. So I had to go ahead and spend more to get some bigger, stronger, more heavy-duty water cans. The original ones cost me $30, and then the extra water canisters that you see there, that cost me another $75. So overspent. I went cheap and I got caught doing it there. An outdoor chair when I want to sit outside and not in the tent. It's great. I love it. It's a rocking chair and it fits nicely in the back of the truck. 65 bucks, money well spent. Table, it's just like a camping table that folds up. The top comes off and all the pieces fold up together. And I love it. I use it all the time, especially when I'm going to be at a campsite like this for more than one day or one night. So I'll go ahead and set that out and just leave it for the next day, and that works great. That was 50 bucks. A short chair for inside the tent. So I just wanted to be able, if I'm having a day like today where I'm spending a lot of time in the tent, I wanted to be able to sit and have something to prop my head up and not just lay down all the time. So I just bought a chair that just kind of goes like this, and that stays in the tent all the time. Then I bought a blender, which I have not used one single time because my fridge only it's one temperature. It's not a dual zone, so I can't have frozen and chilled. It's just I have to set it at one temperature for the entire cooler. So I keep my stuff refrigerated. I barely buy anything that I need to freeze. And so since I don't need to freeze anything, I don't make smoothies like I thought I would. So I probably could have skipped on the blender, I'm sorry to say. And then the the entire interior build out with all the wood and materials to convert it, rip out the back seat and convert it into kind of a sleeping area and storage area. That ended up costing me about 220 bucks. And then finally, for Christmas, I also got like a little mini projector. Thanks, Marissa. And that it's just a tiny little piece of equipment that goes up here, and I watch movies and stuff at night. But I needed some cables for it, so I had to end up spending 100 bucks to get those cables. So basically what I try to do on this side of the ledger, on this side of the worksheet, is just look at how much I spent before the trip. And anything that really comes up during the trip goes in the month-to-month spending. So all in all, to start up, I had tried to keep it, at about, it says there 18,875. I ended up going over by just over $1,000, which is fine. Realistically, I thought I might have to spend upwards of 20 grand to get it launched the way I wanted to, and I've done that. So, all in all, I'm very happy. There's not many things that I would change, just little things here and there, but all the major stuff I'm pretty happy with. And at this point, after 3 or 4 or 5 months, I really feel like I've got it kind of set the way I want it. There's really nothing that I want or need that I don't have right now. So basically for 20 grand all in, I was able to launch this thing off the ground comfortably and travel the country in what I consider to be really comfortable circumstances. A lot of other people might disagree, but I feel like I've got everything I want and everything I need pretty much contained in this truck and in this tent. So that's it for this first part of the video, where I explain kind of what I put into it before I started out on the journey. And in the second part, I'll go over how much it costs me for the month-to-month costs that I incur while I'm traveling. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll come around to watch the second video.